Welcome back, 8th graders. It's our second lesson of week 11. We are in the textbook page 386, still topic 7, still lesson 3. Let's start off with a quiz. When water freezes into ice at the poles, the salinity of the ocean water, if you can't remember, salinity is the amount of salt content in the body of water. So in this example, we're talking about ocean water near the poles. So the salinity of the ocean will A, stay the same, B, increase, C, decrease, or D, all of the above. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to get rid of stays the same because it's definitely going to change. And I'm also going to get rid of all of the above because that's like too much change. So A is not enough change and D is too much change. So what do you think the right answer is? It is increases, and the reason why is because salt will not freeze when water changes from its liquid form into its solid form, which is ice. So that salt's got to go somewhere, so it's just going to go back into the ocean. So the salinity increases. When water has salt in it, when it has a high content of salt, it is denser, and so it'll sink. Before we get into the lesson, I want to go into a little background story. I think most of you know by now that I really love to travel. Currently, I miss making travel plans and I miss going on trips, but I understand that it's for everybody's safety, and I know that the day will come when I get to travel again. But what I don't miss, the one good thing about not traveling right now, is I don't miss waiting for my suitcase at the luggage carousel. So the luggage carousel is where your bags come out of the plane and you wait for this conveyor belt to push around your bags. For some reason, whenever I go to the airport, it seems like my bag is always last. I do have a funny story. So I was traveling with my friend, and before we went on our trip, I bought a new suitcase. It was this really pretty cream color, and on the sides it looked like fake leather, and I thought, oh, I'm going to buy this because it's so unique and it'll be very easy for me to spot on the conveyor belt. So I'm waiting with my friend, and I see a woman, and she has my suitcase. So I go to my friend, oh, I think that woman took my suitcase. And I just had this like panic that she was going to walk off with my suitcase, so I ran after the woman, and I was like, you have my suitcase! And she said no. I don't even know if we spoke the same language, but she was like no, and I looked at the tag, and sure enough, it was her own suitcase, and we just had the same exact suitcase, and yeah, I was pretty embarrassed. So now I'm just extra careful that when I do travel, I put something that's very unique to me so that when it's on this luggage carousel, when it's on this conveyor belt, I definitely know it's mine, so I don't make that mistake again. All right, well, why am I talking about conveyor belts? It's not just because I miss travel. It's because today we're going to learn about the global ocean conveyor. So what does that mean? Does that mean like the oceans just go to the airport and wait for their luggage? No. It's how ocean currents move around in a loop around Earth's bodies of water, like a conveyor belt, and that's where the name comes from. I'm taking this picture right from your textbook, page 368. If you want to get a clearer picture of it, you can use your textbook. And I'm just going to explain how the global ocean conveyor works. So we're going to start in the Atlantic Ocean. That's on our coast in Buffalo. And the currents are going to start off as cold water in the North Atlantic Ocean. That's going to be close to the North Pole. Please remember that when ice freezes, it doesn't take in the salt, so the ocean around the North Pole is pretty salty, and if water is salty, it usually is more dense and it will sink. And that's exactly what happens. This cold, salty water sinks and it flows towards Antarctica. So let's see if we can follow our current. Here we go. Okay. And when it gets to Antarctica, it is going to flow into both the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And there, the cold water will rise to the surface. So here we go. It's flowing to the Indian Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and it is rising to the surface. Now when it gets to the surface, guess what's going to happen? The sun's going to be there. It's going to warm up. So the water will warm and it will flow back to the Atlantic Ocean, and the process starts all over again. So here I have the warm water from the Pacific Ocean. Okay, I've got the warm water from the Indian Ocean. This warm water current is flowing back to the Atlantic, where it's North Atlantic, where it's going to get salty and cold again, and the cycle is going to start all over. All right, so some benefits of the global ocean conveyor. It circulates water and heat throughout the ocean. So if you have a pool or a pond, you don't want the water to just stand there. It starts to get pretty gross. It's called stagnant. So it's a good thing that water will circle around. Also, when it's circling around, it will circulate oxygen that is needed for marine life. A good example of this is fish. So here's a picture of a fish, and actually that person is pushing up the little flap over the gills. It's called the operculum. And it looks gross, and it looks like the fish is injured, but it's cool. So the fish gills take oxygen out of the ocean, and the reason that they look all bloody and stuff is because there's a bunch of blood vessels, but that's there on purpose so that it can take it can take oxygen out of the water. So that's very necessary for living things to live in the ocean, is for that oxygen to circulate. All right, and I hope you were listening. Because the last question for the day is, the global ocean conveyor circulates, which is another word for moves around, what around the world? Is it A, water, B, temperature, C, oxygen, or D, all of the above? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to get rid of anything because the answer is all of the above. The global ocean conveyor moves water, temperature, and oxygen. And remember, the global ocean conveyor is deep ocean currents. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow.